Hi, this is Steve Piscitelli with a quick note before you start the second part 2 of my podcast on creativity featuring Mr. Sean Eager. In this particular episode, you will hear us discuss inspiration. Where does the inspiration come from? Do we find it? Do we have to seek it out? How do you know when you're done with the creative process? Are you ever done? What's the importance of story? What's the importance of the story in the creative process? And where do confidence, persistence, criticism, and feedback all fit in the creative process? And finally, Sean will leave you with a 3-part call to action so that you can stoke your creative genius after you turn the podcast off. So sit back, listen to this episode, part 2 on creativity, seeking inspiration in the road to your heart. Thank you for joining us, folks. I love this quote by Chuck Close, a photographer and artist. He said, I heard him say it and I've read it by him. Inspiration is for amateurs. The rest of us show up and get the work done. And I love that. And I mean, in essence, I think what he was saying was, at least how I interpret it, is that some people just say, well, I'm waiting for the inspiration to do something. And he is saying, no, you just do it. When it comes to inspiration, you got this internal dialogue. I don't even know if there's an inspiration, or is this just it's an eternally on switch. I mean, that's what it sounds like. But can we end up waiting for inspiration and making that really an avoidance, a block itself? And that is, I don't really want to do it because I'm afraid of, I can't do it, people will laugh, you fill in the blank. And I think that's what Close might have been referring to. But your take on inspiration? Yeah, I think if you're waiting for inspiration, then you're not really interested in making art in any fashion anyway. Yeah. I think if you've got a creative bone in your body and or / artistic, that you're going to be seeking inspiration constantly. You know, whether it's in something you read, a film, a sunset, sunrise. That's it. That's really interesting when you said that, because I think many people, and probably if I dig down myself also with the inspiration, sometimes we can think of it as a rather passive event. Like, well, I was doing such and such, and this came to me, which does happen. I understand. I'm hearing you say it is more proactive. It's you do more reading, you do more listening, you do more talking, you do more whatever the do more is, and that helps with your inspiration. Adds to your experiences. Yeah, I mean, you've heard people say all the time, that a positive attitude will get you far in life. Well, I think it's the same thing with creativity. If you're always trying to remain positive and to look for, natural beauty, or to look for the good in people, whatever it is, as long as it's positive and you're trying to focus on positive, period, you will find inspiration. Mm-hmm. You will find it. How do you know when your project is complete? Yeah. How do you know when this is done, rather than I got to go back and tweak, and I'm going to get rid of that verse, and I'm going to add? How do you know? Well, as far as now, when I was doing visual arts, you're working on a painting, and you're always going to see one brush stroke that bothers you, always, and you're going to want to go back and fix it just a little bit more. And my dad used to tell me about, when you're doing stuff, anything, you're trying to, do something creative, that you can fix it until you screw it up. Mm-hmm. So you have there has to just come to a point where you tell yourself, I'm done. With songs, when I have written verses and chorus, and sometimes it's a 3.5-minute song, sometimes it's 7 minutes. But when I've completed telling the story, it's done. Is there staying with your? Well, I was going to say staying with your songs, but maybe it's with all of your artistic endeavors. Is there always a story? For me, there is. Yeah, there is. Yeah, I don't see the point in. I guess I've never been a huge fan of abstract art. I've never been a huge fan of like trance music and stuff like that. That's just
it's just a collection of beats and sounds that's strictly for dancing, which is, there's nothing wrong with that. But for me, musically, I intend to tell a story. I'm trying to paint a picture of an emotion with words.
And when you start, those are some of those things you're collecting on your smartphone and in your books, right?
Yeah.
Do you think you typically start with an emotion, or can it be anything that you start with to get your creative juices going?
It can be anything. It can be just one stupid little catch line that's, that I think is clever, which months later may turn out not to be so clever, but at the moment it feels clever.
Right.
Or an emotion, or there have been times when I've looked at somebody in passing in public and just the expression on their face instantly tells me a story. And it may not be accurate to them, but that expression tells me something right away, and I'll just, put down a sentence about what that emotion felt like, wasn't,
When I've seen you perform, there's this air of confidence that comes across as well, that you believe in the song, you believe in the emotion, you believe in the story. And that develops generally with age and experience. So is there, I think I know your answer, but I want to, how do you develop that confidence? How do you develop the confidence to go up on a songwriter's night and just throw it out there?
Okay, for me, that confidence began to build. There again, I had a teacher in high school who made a difference for me, a drama coach and English teacher, who, when I got into drama, she basically said, look, don't be afraid to just let whatever emotions you've got inside of you that you think pertain to this character that you're going to be on the stage, don't be afraid to let those emotions show on stage.
Yeah.
Just go do it. And it's just unbelievably frightening to set foot out on stage and know that there's hundreds of people staring at you and you're performing this play, and if you come up dry on a line, there's actually nothing quite like that feeling. Your soul freezes. Same thing happens with a song, and it happens to writers all the time. You get up there on stage and you're singing a song, and all of a sudden you realize hey, here comes the third verse, and I don't remember what that is.
Yes, I've been there.
Okay.
Many times.
That you're asking how to get to that point where you're feeling confident. I don't think as an artist you are ever 100% confident, because you know that everything you are putting out there, once you've put it out there, it belongs to the public. It's completely subjective. They can do whatever they want with it, like it, dislike it, love it, hate it. So you're always sort of waiting in anticipation a little bit for some kind of reaction and validation.
Right.
But
it might not come.
And it might not come.
It might not come, at least in the form you were thinking it would come.
Those writers' nights at the beach, when you see somebody who's getting up for the first time in front of people to play, and you see them backstage, and you can tell that the nerves are just driving them crazy. They got butterflies, and their eyes are batting fast and stuff. And I tell them, look, we never get over that. There's always butterflies. Until you get that first couple of stanzas out, you're going to have butterflies.
I think that's excellent advice, strategy. As a public speaker, as many years as I've been doing it, I always have butterflies. Whether I'm going before 10 people or 1,000 people, the butterflies are always there, and I hope I never lose them. And I'm kind of hearing that with you a bit, but because I think if I lost them, I can't speak for anybody else. That's almost like now I'm taking this for granted. I'm taking the audience for granted. No, you need to have them. But I've got all these Sean Eager quotes, and we're running short on time. But I got this one I got to throw out here because it kind of comes in with the confidence. And you had said, and this is a quote, ladies and gentlemen, you have to be willing to fail. You have to be willing to start over and over and over again. You have to be willing to suck. End quote.
Well, it's true. It's true. You can't be afraid of those things, because in the art world, no matter what form of art it is, in the art world, not everybody's going to like you.
Yeah.
It's just the way it goes.
That's right. And I'm also hearing that over and over and over again. It's persistence. It's a discipline.
I don't know if it's discipline so much as just doggedness.
Yeah, I guess, yeah. Well, stay with the criticism for a moment. Does that play into your creative process or the creative process in general?
Yeah, to some extent, criticism is important, but there's two different types of criticism. There's somebody who gives you a criticism just based solely on an opinion, whether, oh, that song's no good. Well, what do you have in your background that allows you to say that, you know? There's a constructive criticism that comes from a peer in music or in art, or from an instructor, because they're going to give you a criticism that allows you to look at your process differently. They're not talking about your finished piece of work. They're talking about your process.
There you go again, that process. Yeah.
So it's okay to take the criticism if it's constructive and helping you improve your process. The finished piece criticism has no bearing on the finished piece. Some people are going to love it. Some people are going to hate it. That's all there is to it.
Wow. So it's the process again, which you said was part of the creativity.
I mean, Jackson Pollock, for instance. You know, I've never been a huge fan, but there's some people who just go nuts over his paintings. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
But can I tell him how to do it different? No, absolutely not.
Right. And do you have, and I'm not looking for names necessarily, but do you have go-to people now in your career, in your life, in the creative area, where you're done with a song, let's say, and you come and you say, hey, Steve, would you listen to this? Do you do that? Do you work in that kind of a collaborative setting, or is it pretty much this is what's going on with that inner dialogue? You hear it, you do it, and that's the process.
For me, that's the process.
That's the process.
I rarely do collaborations per se. When I've finished a piece, I will play it for other musician friends and see if they want to play on it. And occasionally, they hear something very different in that piece than I do. And what started out as a piece of, folk music now becomes blues music, or something else entirely, jazz. So the music can change then.
Yeah.
But I rarely start out purposefully collaborating with anyone.
I keep on wanting to bring this to an end, but I keep on coming up with more questions. And you just gave me let's say you're writing something, and I know you don't do much in the way of collaboration, like you said, but occasionally you do. Even if it's collaborative or it's just Sean sitting down and doing it, have you ever had to deal with the situation that you got a verse, for instance, and it's not working, but you just can't get rid of it because it's like a baby. It's like a child. Because I've had that problem in writing, that here's this paragraph, here's this scene, and I put a lot of time into it. It's not working, but I can't get rid of it. I know I should get rid of it, but do you have that problem, or can you tell this ain't working, I'm not emotionally attached to you, you're gone?
Yeah, there are pieces that get chucked pretty quickly. And usually it's because I'm trying too hard to be creative and lovely. Those come out sounding very trite and very planned, as though you sat there with a book and went over and find all the right rhyming words. And so there are some of those that I will get 30 seconds into it and go, man, this is just terrible.
Yeah.
And I'll never look at it again. But there are those ones, like you said, that you somehow get attached to. They're still there in a folder. 6 months from now, I might look at it again.
Different eyeballs.
That's
yeah.
right.
And we'll come back to this again as in the close, but you have some of your songs up on Reverb Nation, correct?
Correct.
Yeah. And folks, let me give you the address now, but it's reverbnation.com/Sean Eager, SHAWNEAGER. And I'm telling you, if you listen to his songs, they are anything but trite. I tell you. And some of them, They're powerful. The emotions that come out are phenomenal, and he does tell a story with his songs. The emotions are always there. I mean, you leave your emotions out there when you play. There's no question. At least that's what I see. All right, so let's bring it to a close, Sean. I appreciate you coming by and sharing this. This
Absolutely.
is amazing, a lot of fun, especially for us wannabe creative people. This is good. I feel maybe something will rub off. Who knows? All right, let's leave our listeners with something. I always like to leave them with one call to action, one challenge, something. We've covered a lot. There's some small step, some takeaway that, maybe there is that person out there that there wasn't your art teacher or the drama teacher in their lives. Maybe in their lives, all they've ever had are people saying, oh, you don't have that talent. Oh, you can't play a guitar. Oh, don't sing. I mean, whatever it is, what do you tell them? I mean, if you could tell them something that they could take and use starting tomorrow.
I'll just give you 3 little sentences. Because when you asked me this question, I really had to think hard about this. What would I say to someone whom I just met, and I wanted to leave them with an impression of, something positive for them to think about in creativity later. So the 3 things I came up with, and thanks to the teachers I had, was challenge yourself on a regular basis to do something, anything outside of your comfort zone. And that's number 1. Number 2 is accept criticism to your mind, but do not show it the road to your heart. Criticism could be a wonderful thing, but if you dwell on it, then it will stymie your creativity like mad. Give your imagination the freedom to wander and document its travels. That's it.
You are a wordsmith. And I just love that. Accept criticism to your mind, but don't show it the road to your heart. That's powerful. Very powerful. And Sean, thanks for sharing your insights with us. And folks, let me leave you with a call to action based on what Sean was saying. As soon as you can, take a moment, think about what Sean shared today. Go back and listen to this podcast. Whether you aspire to be a professional artist, a songwriter, the corporate maverick who shakes things up, or your child's resident creative genius, consider Sean's challenge. Identify your comfort zone. Now, those can be great. They can be those places where we do de-stress, where sometimes we have to retreat to. But understand where that is, know its boundaries, its limits, and its purpose. And once you've identified it, I would suggest that you then do one thing this week that will put you outside of that comfort zone. That'll put you closer on that journey, that documented journey, that road to your heart. That'll stretch yourself. And then next week, do it again. Add something. Make it a habit. Keep it growing. And I'd also add, find a mentor to bounce ideas off of. If that's, Sean, as he has said, he is pretty much, for the most part, a solo creative genius. Many of us need that person just to bounce some ideas off of. And a true mentor isn't somebody there to squash your dreams. A true mentor is there to help you find it, the way to your heart. So thanks again, Sean. For more information about Sean, please visit, again, reverbnation.com/Sean Eager, SHAWNEAGER. Or you could search him by name on YouTube, Facebook. Hopefully you're not on the post office wall or anything like that.
Not any longer.
Not any longer. That's good. And I thank you, listeners. Without you, there's no Growth and Resilience Network. Visit my website if you want more information about upcoming conversations on the GRN or programs or other resources for your growth and resilience. Just go to stevepiscitelli.com. One of the next podcasts I'm also very excited about is going to be talking about balancing career and life from the perspective of a working mother and how all those balls are kept in the air. And, folks, until we meet again, either virtually, online, or somewhere in person around this great nation, this is Steve Piscitelli from my headquarters, my world headquarters here in Atlantic Beach, Florida, reminding all of us to choose well, live well, and be well. Bye-bye, folks.